We've kind of got a little bit of a picture. Well, regular listeners to the show have got a picture about what single guy Justin was like, the sort of person that you have, the priorities for you. How did that change when you met your wife, when you made that decision, when, you know what, we're locking in this together? How are you different than you were as a single guy?
Oh, so much more, so much more. I mean, the words profound clarity come to mind,
Okay.
Centered around purpose and just higher belonging. For my wife and I, we're coming up on 16 years together in January. And for us, our journey was intrinsically related to, the birth of our first son. And we were 20 and 21 when we found out that we were unexpectedly expecting with him. And he and our children since, and our marriage has just been the greatest blessing in both of our lives, but mine especially.
Yeah, totally. So how are you different? So what has changed? In order to take on this new role, you're going to have to lay some things down. Part of the old life,
yes,
that's no more. That's no longer part of you. What's different? What do you have to put down to get married?
So much. And that's the reality, I think, that people don't often talk about with marriage and becoming a parent, for some at the similar time and others, much more drawn out at each stage, each milestone and each subsequent child thereafter. But particularly with marriage in the first instance, there is so much that you have to let go of because up until that point, really, and even if you're sort of courting or dating, you still have this sort of self-centered view and on the world and sort of how I'm moving through it, and I'm engaging with this other person that I think I'm going to settle down with. One of the things that I think really helped my wife and I was our idea of marriage. Having both grown up in the church was really, really I wouldn't say serious, but important to us, and our understanding of being married was very similar insofar as understanding that it is a commitment, a lifelong commitment, and we will go out of our way above and beyond, to honor that commitment to each other, understanding full well that for us especially, like I said, we were 20 and 21. We were kids. When I look at that boy, who married that girl back then, we were children, and I'm happy and proud to stand here now as a man who has had such a massive journey, but I think fundamentally we operated from that space of unwavering commitment, and that's what this marriage is about, and understanding full well there is a turbulent journey ahead for which we have no idea what that's going to be, and that's transpired.
I know for, if you look at the statistics, less people getting married than there were previously. Now, some of that's possibly economics and, oh, gosh, I've got the student debt and I need to pay that off, or I'm just spending the whole time, flipping through the app looking for the exact right match, and perhaps we've raised our standards. But less people getting married. You're talking about the richness that it's brought to your life. Why do you think more people are opting out on this?
For a variety of reasons. One, I think with the advent of social media and actually getting an insight into people's lives, it's made it really difficult for people to actually live authentic lives when you're sort of forced to pantomime your life behind the scenes and portray, what is your best life. And so there's a lot of that comparison that happens there. And that's something that I'm really, mindful of with what I put out there is a balance of here's me and my children, my wife, my life in this current moment, having a great time, but at times always acknowledging that I'm going through a tough moment right now, and that is the reality of parenting or our marriage in this moment. That's that social media, the advent of it, I think has just given people much too much of a lens for couples to actually just, fumble their way through life together.
Totally. And hey, I think it's refreshing from Mr. Digital, just saying that, hey, actually it is authentic connection and relationship that came first, not making a left or right choice on Tinder. Actually, that you didn't have to impress somebody on a social media platform. You needed to authentically get to know them and be your real self in order for this to work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will go so far as to say that, for some, in fact, those in the building actually have actually found beautiful, rich marriage through those apps. But importantly, that was just sort of the easy discovery piece. It wasn't the be-all and end-all of the relationship that transpired since. And similarly, they went through a period of actually getting to know each other and agreeing and coming together as a couple. I mean, I know that idea of marriage and actually having a wedding. A lot of the sort of things that I hear from many friends of mine who are in long-term relationships and effectively de facto married and asking, why aren't you guys married yet? They actually effectively do have a relationship that is very much a marriage, you know, in the way that they operate. And so, for them, it's a matter of maybe just purely out of utilitarian effort, and they've got family circumstances, or actually they just are happy with the commitment that they've made to each other and treat it with the level of respect that a husband and wife do. And, others who are not in Christianity perceive, weddings and marriage as a Christian construct, and so they don't buy into that. But ultimately, I see the success of these relationships as having that key foundational principle of unwavering commitment, and particularly the ability, like I say, to rub up against each other. There's no union that has perfect harmony. And that's one of the other things that I in fact, someone told me when we were very young in our marriage, was that you two are going to grow as a husband and wife and live independent lives and experiences of each other, right? It is imperative that you understand that is going to happen, and that you don't just grow apart, that you are constantly actually putting in effort to maintain your guys' relationship with each other as you continue to change individually. And so as my hobbies went from being the self-centered, snowboarding master of the universe, Justin, that I was before I got married, after I got married, I really had to let go of a lot of that. And, my wife and I have since carved out a journey and an identity as individuals, but also full well hand in hand together.
You got to intentionally lean in, otherwise you'll unconsciously drift apart, I think, in this space. And talking about the difference between married and non-married, I mean, honestly, I think for a lot of couples, they're saying, but I can't really afford a Instagram-worthy Fijian beach wedding anymore. That the difference between married and unmarried is this big social media phenomenon. So much effort, so much emotional energy goes into the wedding day, not so much on the marriage that follows, right? Yeah,
and that's the hard work part. That's the rubbing up against each other part. And there will be so many things that you just don't foresee that will come out of left field, whether it is the nature of your own relationship with your parents, or the non-existent relationship with your own parents, and vice versa, with your spouse, the way that you guys engage with your children, if you are blessed to have them and pursue that, and the way you guys do that individually and together. Someone drew a picture for me when I had my son, and they said, right now your family is a triangle. There's your relationship between you and your wife, and you and your son, and your wife and your son. And then when you add another dot into the picture, now you actually exponentially start to increase the connections, and so too does that continue to happen. And that becomes really complex because you're managing relationships between your children, and those sorts of things can get really abrasive between you and your partner as you grow.
Loving that picture. I'm rocking a dodecahedron at the moment.
And parallelogram.
It does get relationally complex. Hey, thank you so much for sharing this part of your life, for being part of the program today, Justin.
Anytime.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe, and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.